Actually, okay, we're going to just put everything on hold for a second because you said something else one time that I thought was very interesting. And I'll just ask you outright because I get this question a lot. What is the difference between LSD and psilocybin?
Yeah, well,
I mean this
uh,
phenomenologically, not
yeah,
obviously.
phenomenologically.
Yeah.
I think of psilocybin as very much of a kind of a body-grounded psychedelic. I feel it very strongly in my body. It really, when I'm in a psilocybin state, this intelligence, it almost as if it enters into my body, it sweeps through my body, checks it out, can identify what's going on here, there, touches the emotional feels, and it's a very it's my whole body hums and glows when I'm with psilocybin. Something very similar with ayahuasca. It feels very it takes your whole body into the experience. My experience working again with high doses of LSD, and it's different with lower doses, but with high doses of LSD, it is such an enormous acceleration, such an enormous catapulting uh, into deep, deep states of consciousness. It almost as if this isn't really quite true, but in certain ways, it almost as if it tends to leave the body behind.
Hmm.
And there's a way in which integrating the body into those states of consciousness takes time and comes later. There's a tendency to, it's not a dissociative psychedelic like ketamine is, but it tends to sort of drive to what I would call the high cosmological ceiling. It tends to throw you into the high cosmological ceiling, and it doesn't give you, for example, at least in my experience, it didn't give me contact with the elemental spirits, with the earth spirits, with the totem ancestors of the animal or vegetable kingdom. It just wasn't working at that level. It tends to be kind of drive towards the cosmological ceiling, so to speak. So it would drive me beyond my personal ego, and then it drove me into the species consciousness, and then it drove me into earth consciousness, and then it started taking me even beyond that territory.
Cool.
I
Thank
found,
you.
I found later that using psilocybin actually kind of helped me integrate some of my LSD experiences, precisely because it tended to open up my body and allowed some of that high cosmological energy to enter more easily into my physical form.
Now,
Yeah.
were you taking higher doses of psilocybin or more average, say 5 dried grams of mushrooms, or were you entering into Kalindi EE territory where you're at 20, 30 grams, 40, 50 grams of mushrooms?
I was probably working in more standardized doses with psilocybin. I wasn't really trying, and much of the work I did with psilocybin was after I had stopped the LSD work. I did some intermittently along the way, but after I stopped the LSD work, I worked with psilocybin and some with ayahuasca, and what I found is that it was very helpful towards integration. I didn't feel like I was breaking new territory, and I wasn't trying to break new territory. I was trying to recover from the territory I'd already broken into. I was trying to basically learn how to walk on the earth again after having so many transcendental experiences.
Well, I would be very curious to see you and Kalindi EE compare notes of ultra high dose tryptamines. But let's
It would be interesting. Yeah.
let's go back now that we're okay. We've explored that.